Okay, just like that, we're back live from the basement studio, and for the episode of It's No Secret in memory of Tyler Matthews. It's been a few minutes since I've seen you all for this episode anyways, because of us being displaced and having to reschedule and get things back in order. But good to be with you, good to see you, and thanks for tuning in. And today I have a special guest with me, Hilary Denton from the Turning Point Center of Central Vermont. And I've known Hilary for a long time, and we won't talk about how long because then we have to talk about how old we are. But we welcome her and look forward to a really good conversation and some information. And as always, if you have questions, comments, please make them. Keep them civil, keep them nice, or they'll go away. We just don't tolerate that stuff. So that's the case with that. But please feel free to ask questions, and we'll answer as many as we can. And good afternoon.
Hey, really?
Welcome to see you.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy. Welcome. So, yeah, as I said, it's been a while since you and I have seen each other, and but I'm super excited to have you here.
Yes, and it's an honor. Thank you for allowing me to be on your show.
And I know you all are super busy right now. You're displaced. I mean, you're always busy, but right now it's got to even seem more tough because you're displaced. You don't really have a ground zero at the moment.
Right. With the flooding, we've been displaced from our building. We have some meetings still going on, but they've been reduced. So yeah, we're in a little bit of chaos trying to get our grounding back. So hopefully that'll happen soon. But right now we do have some meetings in other locations, which is great. We're still doing coaching, either remotely or we can have some space at some other locations too.
Which is wonderful. So you still are offering services just on a different scale and in new places.
Absolutely.
Because that's always the big concern, just like it was with COVID, is that we know that people still need this help desperately. And so that's awesome that you guys are willing to and able to kind of regroup and still focus on the important stuff.
Absolutely. And these kind of situations happen and addiction skyrockets with the chaos. So yeah, it's really important to continue to offer services, recovery supports in whatever way we can.
Mm-hmm. And you all are at the ED as well.
The emergency department.
Which is wonderful that you're up there. And are you doing the parent support group as well still? Do you know if that's up and running again?
So our Open Hearts family group is at Elevate Youth, which is up on off of the Granger Road. And that is Wednesdays from 11:30 to 12:30. That group is still happening and is going strong.
I promised Bob that I would go, and so far that hasn't worked out because of everything that has gone on. So I'm hoping tomorrow will be my first time going.
It's a great group.
And, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Cool.
They had one at Jenna's when my son was at Jenna's, and the support group for families was huge, and it's an amazing resource that not everybody understands that we really need. It's addiction. It's funny in that way where it's literally doesn't affect just the person actively using. It affects all of us.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that addiction is a family disease usually. And I often say, we expect the person in active addiction to make all these changes, but those changes can't be sustained unless the whole family wraps around and makes their own changes. And that's really some of the ingredients to successful recovery. And I do believe addiction is hardest on the family, the loved ones of the person struggling.
Well, there's a fine line to you don't know, and I'm caught in the trap all the time. You don't know what is a good thing to do, what is support and what is enabling, and it's a very fine line, and it's super tough to fall down that rabbit hole super quick, super easy, because you just want to make it better. And the truth is you can't.
Right. You can offer support, you can offer guidance, and hopefully that will be received. A lot of times it's not. But you can be there to hold the container of safe space for that person, the loved one, your child, your parent, whoever it is, your friend, when they're ready, when they've had enough, and they're ready to get on track and to start working on all the things that, keeps a person addicted or keeps them out of recovery. So you want to work on those things moving into recovery and living a happier, more joyous life.
And in the meantime, you need to keep yourself well so that you can be that person. Because you burn out easily. I burn out easily.
Absolutely.
I know it's exhausting for me sometimes. I just want to hide sometimes. So I'm super happy and grateful for any support like that I can get into. The understanding not long ago, it took a long time, the understanding that I'm not alone was huge, because for a very long time I just was quiet, never wanted anybody to know, and it's suffer in silence, crying and waiting and worrying and just going through all of the emotions all by myself, and to know that there are so many other people affected in the same very way is huge.
There you go. Addiction is isolating. It's isolating for the individual who's struggling with addiction. It's isolating for the family members. And, there's the shame and the guilt, perhaps, that a parent or a loved one.
What did I do wrong?
What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? Like, those things are almost haunting at times. And so, you you end up isolating and feeling really alone. These family groups are really huge. And super important just to the well-being of the family component, to the individual with addiction, and yourself as a loved one. Super important to get that self-care and that help that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also in that way you become a better role model, perhaps. Learning how to care for yourself teaches those who are watching you how to do it too.
Right. That's what you do. You let people know that they're not alone, and you learn how to foster these, things within yourself that give you the time to take a break or to take a breath or admit or help and counsel someone else, or just help kill the stigma of it all is the biggest part of it for me, because that has helped me know, that's the biggest piece that has helped me know I'm not alone, is when I talk to a good friend and I can be totally open about it now, and they really don't care. They're super supportive of me. And before I would have thought, I can't tell her, I don't want her to know. Yeah. And now it doesn't matter. Yeah. And so that's how we help our loved ones better, I think. It's how we can, if we can feel like we have a space to vent and, get our frustrations out, we can help them better, because it helps with the anger. Yeah. There's a lot of anger on all sides.
For sure. Yeah. And it's just helpful to have someone to walk along the journey with you. Not necessarily to fix it, but to just be there with you. Yeah. Walking along. Yeah. Holding space. That's really powerful.
So you're at the Turning Point Center, and how long have you been with them?
So I've been at the Turning Point for about 4.5 years, almost 5 in October. Nice. Yeah, so it's been a good run.
Good to have you for sure. And how did you get involved?
Well, so all of our coaches are peers, which just means we all have lived experience with addiction and recovery. So I got to a place in my recovery where I was able and willing to go back to work, wanting to go back to work. And I wanted to maybe also help others. I wanted to just be part of this recovery movement, if you will. And there was a job opening that I applied for. And I applied for it once. I didn't get the job. I applied for it again when it came around, and then I got the job. And, it was great because the skills that I needed for this job were the skills of recovery, the things that we work through to get to a better place in life. And so being able to offer those skills as a resource was just a huge part of my recovery as well, and deepened my recovery journey. And, I was like, okay, I'll do this job for a little while, and then I was going to move on. But, it's become the job that I have loved the most and gives me the most meaning and fills me with purpose. And I love the people that we serve, just straight up love them. And it's interesting because it's a population, and I know this from experience, that we often maybe feel unlovable, and we often feel like, alone and angry, and, we probably have disaster all around us. And so we feel unlovable as well. And I appreciate being able to offer compassion to to that kind of situation, to be able to just be the person who has, open space, open time for the person struggling and ready to do something different.
And we're super lucky to have you. We really are. And,
Thanks.
And I have seen that. I think everybody that I have met that is even in active use, if it's tough to see that somebody actively using, it's tough to see that they just aren't willing to see their worth sometimes. And you just want to say, you want to shake them a little bit and say, oh my God, you could totally do this. But so many people that I know that are in active use are willing always to help the guy beside them. I see it in treatment court all the time. I see them encourage each other. I see and not just in treatment court, but in other circumstances as well. You've got this, man, or my God, you have to slow it down, or you're going to end up dead, or this, so many things. They're there for each other, and they can see it in someone else, but they can't see it in themselves. And that's tough to see. It breaks my heart, really, that they can't see their own worth. And that's the biggest struggle, I think, with a lot of people that are in active use.
Absolutely. I think in my recovery, cultivating self-worth is like on the top 3 things that I've learned to do in recovery. It's not an easy thing. And I think just we all as individuals, as human beings with or without addiction, also struggle with that. It's a pretty unique thing for us as humans. And then it's compounded by addiction, by, failing to do this or that, or maybe doing some crimes, or doing things that you're not proud of, things that are not within your integrity. Those are the things that we do. And those are the things that we heal, like those hurts that we've caused, those hurts that we've received through our addiction. And that those things affect our self-worth, our self-esteem, our confidence. They affect our whole self-image, hands down.
I love to see your post and know that you kind of find some healing of your own in your hiking and your being outdoors and just soaking it all in. That's almost like that's your new piece. Yeah. And I love to see all your pictures, and it just makes my heart happy.
Oh, thank you.
It just does. And
well, thank you. Yeah. It's interesting because also on the top of the list of things that's been very important to my successful recovery is learning to have fun. So often we have fun by drinking or drugging or, whatever it is. It's part of our social construct. And so learning to have fun without those things has been a huge challenge. And it's one of the things that can keep people down because in our culture, alcohol is a huge, what we call social lubricant, right? Like we ease into social situations, and that's really part of our culture, deeply embedded. And so how to do those things, how to do those things without a vice has been really challenging. And so I've had to get out of my comfort zone, and I found peace and serenity and so much, through hiking outdoors and nature. And that's been my serenity.
And you really have to find your people.
You do.
Because it's super tough to find people that are also willing to do that with you, that let's go out to dinner, but let's go out to dinner and not order drinks. Let's all agree that we're going to drink water, soda, tea, whatever. And it changes your entire makeup when you try to get well. It's not simple.
Right. And I'm not a person that wants to impinge my values and ethics onto another person. Everybody has their own, will, their own life to live. And this is just my story. And so if a person wants to do those things and they can manage them, that's fine. And I don't, it's okay to be around it. But in the beginning, in early
It's
recovery,
hard to be around it.
Yeah, I needed to limit the exposure to the things that got me in trouble. And that's just the way we do it. It's okay. It feels like a loss for a bit, but then the gain and the reward that comes after is just more than you can even imagine and dream of. Like when you're first in that space of like, oh, my life sucks. This is so hard. And how am I going to do this? And those kind of things.
Yeah. Mariah says she loves us both. We love her too.
We do love her.
Yeah.
Yay, Mariah.
I know. She's pretty kick-ass, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah. So, in talking about that relapse, have you relapsed, struggled with it, or did you just finally do it?
Well, a little of all of that, of both. Relapse is a tricky thing to really understand. And I guess what I want to say about that is, kind of what I've mentioned before is that the reasons people want to alter their mind state are various. We do it to have fun. We do it to relax. We do it to de-stress from a long day at work or a hard week at work or whatever. We do it to maybe cope with traumatic events in our life. I mean, there's just so many different reasons why a person would want to alter their mind space. And so eventually, over time, you do this over and over again because it usually works pretty well. Like we do what we do because it works until it doesn't anymore, right? And so when you get sober, you kind of have to relearn those things. Like I was saying, I had to learn how to have fun in a sober way. I had to learn how to cope with big events, big tragic events. I had to learn to manage my stress better. All of the things that I went to for a drink or a drug are the things that I've had to relearn in a different way. So that takes time. You don't just get rid of the substance and then you're all better. It takes time to figure out how to live life and manage life successfully without a substance. So from the time I realized I needed help until the time I actually was successful was 3 years. That was 3 years of trying to get sober, trying to stay sober, and then trying to, just move forward in life. So little things would happen. Recovery is rarely, if ever, a straight line forward. It's always a zigzag. You zig in and you zig out as you can, as you're able, as you learn, as you grow. And so, I relapsed over and over again for a solid 3 years. And I've had over 8 years of nearly perfect abstinent-based sobriety.
That's awesome.
Woohoo.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a lifelong struggle. It doesn't, you don't recover and then you're just always fine. It's a lifelong struggle.
Yeah.
Because we all live with so many stresses and you never know what's going to happen in your life that's going to cause some, really deep rooted stress that maybe you haven't ever yet dealt with. And so learning those skills to cope or learning to reach out and learning that you're not alone, I believe has kind of turned the corner. It's come to a point where because we're talking about it, it's a little easier to say, I need this help, or no to reach out, or I think we've come a long way with where we're at right now, but we still have a real long way to go.
Yeah, we're still learning. In the 8 years of my sobriety, I am still learning who I am, who I want to be, who I don't want to be, who, what my potential is, those kinds of things. And you're right, you have to work at your sobriety every day, or your recovery, or whatever, is specific to you. So like learning to make decisions, like learning to make good decisions is just something that you have to relearn. And so that's why people relapse oftentimes, is just because they haven't developed the skill quite yet. Yeah. And they're becoming who they are, who they want to be in the world. And this takes time. And it takes patience, and it takes honesty. It takes looking at your own self in a very honest way without judgment to be able to make those changes, to be able to.
Which isn't easy. It's not easy for someone who isn't in addiction.
We're our own worst critic.
We are. And so it's tough for any of us, but to add that to the scope just makes it that much more tough. It's not a cut and dry. Everybody heals the same way. Everybody's going to recover the same way. We can have one facility where everybody goes and gets stitched up and they leave, and miraculously they're fine. It doesn't work that way, and it will.
Yep. Individual. You got to be, recovery is an individual process. We know that there are generally things that work and that are helpful, and we utilize those skills. But yet, everybody is a variable. Every day of every life of every person is just a variable, and you don't necessarily know what you're going to get that day, that moment. And so you got to just do the best you can.
And you can't fear your critics. You have to know that just as many of us support you as the ones that don't, as those that don't. And we just as many. And I just feel like that's why I really wanted to do this show to begin with, and say it's no secret. It's not a secret. It's here, and it's here to stay. And so how we manage it and how we deal with it as a community, and how our willingness to be educated and what is happening and how we can help is so huge. And I get really pissed when I hear things like, not in my town, when you start talking about maybe a rehab center or a sober living space, or I don't want that here. It is here. It's here. It's everywhere. So it's how we're going to deal with it being here that matters. And that means we need support from our community. But doing what you do, educating the community, what it is, why it happens, why people can't just all of a sudden be cured. My mom had cancer. She went through chemo and radiation, and she beat it the first time. 2 years later, it was back, but in the form of brain cancer. 5 months, and she was gone. It took her life in 5 months.
Wow.
And I look at this the same way. I mean, we don't know. We don't know. And we have to be more educated and more willing to be accepting and understand, and to be a part of things that you do at your work and the Turning Point Center, and go to these meetings. And maybe you don't have a family member, but I guarantee that everyone in this world knows somebody, whether they know somebody or not. They know somebody that is in active addiction or that has struggled.
Yes, absolutely. I totally believe that too. If it's not yourself that struggles or a loved one, you are still affected by the community that you are engaged in, that you live in. And that's exactly what it is. And, I think that there is an aspect of Native American recovery principles, and not to perpetuate any cultural appropriation, but I really like this in that, there's a thing that says, okay, so it's not necessarily that there's all these really sick, unhealthy individuals in a community. Like, it's the container, it's the community that holds all these individuals that's unhealthy. And that's the area that we need to focus on, is like the community in general, like looking at what's not going well, what is going well, what can we do better, how can we serve better. And here's the thing, is that addiction does not discriminate. Like, it can find you wherever you are and whoever you are. You can be educated, you can not be educated, you can live in poverty, you can be wealthy. Like, it does not discriminate. It can find you. And if you're not careful, it just might.
Yeah. And again, for me, it's what we're going through right now. It's flood relief. It's been flooding for years, and we need to approach it in the same sort of way that we're all just going to come out and we're going to fight this together and fix it.
Yeah.
In a way that we can. It's not going to fix it completely, but how we approach it is going to make a damn big difference.
Yeah, how we come together.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how the community has come together, like through the recent flooding.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty spectacular.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing, like what we can do when we want to do something together.
Right. There's no class of people. There's no we all are going through this traumatic experience, and we're going to help each other. It's the same thing.
Same thing.
We are all going through a really traumatic situation, and we just need to be there for each other.
Yeah.
And it's our path forward. It's our only path forward. And I don't know how to make that happen, but I sure want to try every damn day to do it, you know?
Absolutely. Well, it's like what you were saying. It's like talking about it. It's owning it. Mm-hmm. It's not letting our worst mistakes define us for the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. You know, it's navigating those hard times, those tough situations, and showing others how to do it, and sharing our stories, you know, so that people understand, you know, the fact that we know each other, you know, we know a little bit about what we've been through. I mean, that just helps me feel, you know, supported with whatever, you know, like with anything, just knowing that there are people out there sharing the struggle in whatever way, whether it's you or, you know, a family member struggling. Right. We're together, and we can share that bond, and we can build each other up. Mm-hmm. That's what we're here to do, is build each other up. For sure. And that is kind of like a mission for me as well, as far as that goes, because it was a while ago now, but my son said to me, "I don't want you talking about me." And I didn't. I didn't talk about him. I didn't talk about his addiction, what was going on. Very few people knew. They knew. And then one day, after I had gone to counseling myself, because I decided I was going to see a drug and alcohol counselor of my own so I could understand. I wasn't suffering, but I was suffering. And I finally just stood up to him and said, "I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. This is a us thing. You're not in this alone. This is a family thing. And this is my situation in the picture. And I'm going to talk about it." And I know, and then that's when I just was like, no, I need to. And I have ever since. And does that piss him off sometimes, that I'll say this happened or that happened? Absolutely, it pisses him off. But tough, it pisses me off too. Sometimes we have to get mad in order to make a change. Mm-hmm. Not that that's your situation, but sometimes we have to get angry enough to have that fire in our belly to do something a little different, to make a change. Yeah, and it's tough, and I understand that. I know it's not going away overnight. There's going to be relapse after relapse after relapse, and in some cases, and some people can just turn it off, like, I'm done, and be done. Yeah. And that's amazing. I mean, kudos and hurrah for you all, anybody that does it. It's tough. And I just know that my part in the situation, I have to be honest about if I want to be able to help him in the right way. Absolutely. Because if I continue to lie to myself, then I'm allowing him to continue to lie too. And so I have to be open about what's happening. I like that. I just have to. And it sucks, and I don't want to sometimes. Yeah, the truth hurts sometimes. But it does. It does.
And I've had to face up to that a lot in my life. I've definitely have screwed up, done really dumbass things, and but I owned it and I dealt with it, and how I work through things every day now are not the same that I worked through them 22 years ago. And I'm grateful for that. But it was tough. And it took a lot to say I'm proud of where I am. And, I can lay down at night and be fine with where I am.
Isn't that a gift?
It is a gift.
It is such a gift to be able to close your eyes on your pillow and be okay with the day.
Yeah. And you don't have to be okay for anybody else. You just have to be okay for you. Yeah. And that's okay. You don't owe anybody any explanation.
That's right. Really. Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to be good with you.
Good with you. Yeah. Honest.
Yeah.
Self-honesty.
And so
it's part of the crux.
Yeah. Oh, you're not kidding. And one of the toughest parts, though,
it is so hard to be honest. It is. It's the hard, just honesty to self is the most important. There are so many aspects about our lives in general, that are hard to see, and they're hard to make changes. And, but those are the things, like if you are honest and that's going to curb your behavior, because if you don't want to tell a lie, and that does become really important in recovery, like you just aren't going to, it's much easier to not do it. Right. Much easier to just like walk the straight and narrow as best you can if honesty is important to you. And it just does become very important, to live your life with integrity. That was important to me anyways.
Right. You're not weaving the web anymore. You're literally straight line, just trying to make it all work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just do the best we can.
Do you have rituals, daily things that you try to do to continue to keep yourself going?
So my daily rituals at this point are usually around exercise and and absolutely mindfulness. I'm not doing sitting meditation at this time, but I have a goal of trying to do that. But mindfulness, breathing exercises, what I discovered about myself when I got sober, which is something I knew and probably just forgot, is that I'm just very anxious. I'm a very anxious person by default. And even in my first year of recovery, I felt like a raw nerve plugged into a light socket for that whole first year. So doing things that help me manage or reduce my anxiety are the key rituals. So and breathing is a lot to that. And I know breathing is a simple exercise that people are like, it's too simple. It can't be that easy. But, when you can't have anything else and breathing is all you've got, you learn how to work it. So breathing, exercise, like what you were saying about at the end of the day, kind of having an inventory of the day, what I did good, what I could have done better, and what I would like to change, or any maybe amends that I would like to make with the people that I interacted with during the day. Like I take time to go through and reflect, to be self-honest, and then do the action that I need to do in order to sleep good at night. Right? Yeah.
Right. And know that I'm going to try again tomorrow. I'll try again tomorrow. And I'm going to try it.
And tomorrow's a new day. It's a beautiful new day tomorrow. Thank goodness.
Right, exactly. It's over. What happened today is done, and it's okay to leave it there. And it's the same thing if you relapse. You relapsed yesterday. Today's a new day, so start over.
Start again.
But jumping back on that wagon that quickly isn't always easy either. Sometimes it takes a bit to get a grip again, and that's also a super tough thing for some of us, me included, to understand. How can you have all of this time under your belt, fall, and then literally go off the rails for days or weeks or whatever before you got to get it back together? Some of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any
back on track.
Yeah, how can we not get angry? Do you have any suggestions for moms and dads and brothers and sisters
gosh.
and wives and or just like how do we get ourselves, or how do we keep ourselves maintained and to try to just continue to be supportive when you feel like, I've been freaking supportive, and what is this getting me?
Right.
What do you do?
It's a tough one. I don't think that there's any, I'm sorry to say, but any like real concrete answer. But, we keep trying, and we just keep doing our best. And, one thing that I've learned to believe is that, we all as human beings have suffering, whether you're addicted or not. And how you utilize that suffering will go a long way. If you can learn to see the silver lining, or, find some sort of meaning in a struggle or some suffering that you're experiencing. And knowing that everybody's path is different. And sometimes we look at a person or their situation, and it seems really clear and obvious what the right thing is. But at the end of the day, who am I to say that somebody else's struggle isn't actually really, really necessary for their growth and well-being? So that's kind of where I put myself back to, and that's because, it was really obvious for everybody in my family, like what I should do, what I shouldn't do, and to make life better. But every relapse I had, every struggle I had, I really gained something when I allowed myself to. I really learned something, some great wisdom probably about life, that helped me through and helped me for when I was really, really ready. So just that, it's almost like preparing for the actual moment when it happens, the big, day of sobriety, when you're actually ready. So that's kind of where I just go, is that I just don't know another person's journey and what the important factors are. And we all kind of need that struggle to like grow. That's where the word term growing pains comes from, right?
Right.
And so, but is it, when you're the mom or the dad or the child of the person struggling with addiction, like it's really hard to wait that out.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's no path. There's no correct path for us either. And that's
right.
kind of why I asked you, some people will say, tough love, throw them out, be done, write them off. That's what worked for me. That's great. That's what worked for you. But it doesn't work for everybody. And I know for myself, it could never work for me. I would not be able to live with that myself. And yes, this is part of my life too. And some people say that's selfish. You can't be that way. Yes, I can, because for me, that's what I have to do. If I threw my son out and just cut all ties, said I'm not going to deal with this anymore, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Because for me, it would be, I just threw him to the wolves that I have been trying to keep him from, that I've been protecting him from. That doesn't work. But I know some people that have done it, and it totally registered with their family member, like, oh my God, I've even lost my family. And that's when they were able to turn it around. The selfish part of me will never be able to get there, because that's something that I can not live with. And that same selfish part of me also, I had, my counselor said to me, stop giving him money. And he said, how do you know that if your son went out and overdosed and died tomorrow, and you had given him $20 on his way out the door, can you live with the fact that your $20 may have done that? No. That change I was willing to make. But it's not the change for everybody, and I understand that. Yeah. We all function at a different level. The members and the person struggling.
Yeah. And that exact situation that you're saying, so today might be a day that you could not throw your son out to the wolves. And tomorrow might be the day that you can. Like, you just don't know.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying about variables.
Yesterday, I wanted to choke the shit out of him. I really did. He makes me very angry. And, We just came off of a really stressful weekend, and when I get pissed off, I get really pissed off, and my instant reaction is to yell, swear, call names, just be a total asshole. And I know that. Or when I'm looking for him and it's been 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, I haven't slept, I'm sick, I don't know what's happening. I will send sometimes the most horrid texts. And then I think to myself, what if that's the last thing that he read?
Yeah.
What if the last thing that I ever said to my son and he read me say something? How horrible would that be? And
Right.
it's super tough because my instant reaction, not instant, but the most of the time is like, damn it, why are we still doing this? It's been 14 long years of dealing with this, and I'm tired. But to realize and understand that he's just as tired, it takes a lot of effort some days to realize that.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. You talk about anger, and that's a really big one. And I, one of the things I learned in my recovery was that anger is usually, if not always, a secondary emotion to fear and hurt. So when I hear you talking about this and you're saying you're so mad and frustrated, I mean, what I hear is fear. I'm so scared that this is going to be the last time I see you, or I might not see you, in a place where you're healthy again. I don't want to lose you. That's what I hear. That's the anger speak. You know what I mean? It's the fear speaking through the anger.
Definitely doesn't come out that way at the moment.
Right.
That's for sure.
And, and it speaks to boundaries. We're talking about boundaries too. And boundaries aren't necessarily always these straight lines either. Like they have edges that ebb and flow sometimes. And so like that $20 that you're talking about, I want to go back and say, somebody really close to me said, regarding your kids, like at the end of the day, it's really what you can live with, like if the worst case scenario was going to happen, can you live with what you did or didn't do? And that really stuck with me. And so sometimes the $20 might be the thing that you can't do because you can't live with it. And sometimes it might be. It all is very specific. And like we learn our boundaries. As a family, as a person in recovery, like we learn what our boundaries are, and they shift sometimes. Sometimes we have to expand them a little bit. Sometimes we have to contract them. But we learn our boundaries and how to, and sometimes we have sharp edges on our boundaries, right?
That's the other thing. And I definitely let them come out sometimes.
They do. It's okay. It is our human nature. We're all learning too, right? As parents.
And I always feel horrible for doing so. And then I have to recognize he feels horrible for doing so too. Like he really does, because sober person is totally different than the person actively using. So when the moment comes where you're snapped back into reality, you've had 24 hours to sleep, 72 hours off, and you wake up in reality again of, oh shit, I just really fucked up, and what am I gonna do now? And then you have all this host of people that you may need to make amends with. And so making amends is never easy for any of us, no matter the situation. But it's difficult and it's tough. For accountability is tough.
Sure is.
No matter who you are, and it's more tough, I believe, if you're in this situation.
Yeah, accountability is a good one. It goes hand in hand with honesty, right? Self-honesty. If you want to hold yourself accountable, your best bet is to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
And so relapse, it's going to happen. Just
it is.
We have to make sure that everybody knows that you're supported and you're not alone, and jump back on and love yourself enough to keep going and try again. And this affects everyone. And I 100% believe that everyone in this world, no one could say, no, it doesn't affect me. It affects you somehow.
Yeah, I agree.
It affects you somehow. And you just have to be willing to accept that and look toward just, I don't know, like being a part of the solution.
Yes, absolutely. How many critics are there out there who are like, people who are judgmental and think that you should do it like this or you should do it like that. And that's not really that helpful. What's helpful is like having the mindset of, how can I help? How can I be part of the solution? I love that so much. I mean, that's the mind frame that we need to have to come together.
Mariah says recovery is not perfection for the person suffering or the one suffering along with them. Empathy for them and yourself is super important, which is true.
Definitely true.
Yeah.
More love, not less. That's always what I say. You know, when we, I think people in general, but we all have negative self-talk. And it becomes amplified so much after you've created chaos all around you from active addiction. Right. And so, and
that's what it does. That's a good way to put it. It's created chaos. It literally is chaos. There are so many up, downs, and all arounds that, and it's hard for not only the person actively using, but anybody who loves them.
So hard.
You never know which ride you're going to get that day. You have your ticket, but you don't know what the hell's going to happen. You might be on It's a Small World or freaking Thunder Mountain. You don't know.
That's super funny.
It's true, though.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
But like Mariah said, it's not about perfection. Human nature is messy in general. And then you add in chaos, self-created chaos. And it's about progress. Yeah. Progress, not perfection. Yeah. It's about progress.
Yeah. Just be willing to get back up and try again. And know that even if your asshole mother was a jerk to you, that she still believes in you and wants you to get back up, brush yourself off, and try again. Yeah. I mean, that's it. It's hard to say, but it's true. It comes from a place of love. The aggravation of it all. That comes from a deep, deep love for.
Oh yeah.
Just, my God, be okay. And yeah.
Yep.
And being tired and worried for 72 hours so that you just are like out of your freaking mind. And you lose control for a minute.
Yeah. It happens. Right. It does. And we just try to do a little bit better.
Right. And we all have to be willing to be okay with that ourselves too. You have to say, okay, I did, but same thing. Lay your head down. Tomorrow's a new day, and together you'll start again. And we'll figure it out. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yep. Yeah.
Even, may not seem it today, but it'll be okay somehow, some way. There will be a way. And if it's not okay, if things don't work out and things are not okay, you're still not by yourself.
Yeah. And that's okay too, alone. To some extent. Like, it's okay to not be okay. It is okay. It's just, things are going to settle eventually. Things cannot stay the same ever, so things do change, and those tough times change. They evolve, and they may get worse before they get better. There's a good chance of that. But things do settle. The dust does settle, and things do tend to work themselves out. You got to put some effort in, right? You got to do your part. Everybody's got to do their part, but it's a tough road.
It is a tough road,
and knowing the resources is good. Being able to out there. Unfortunately, we're in an under-resourced time. There's not enough resources, but at least knowing what there is.
And knowing that right now is actually a time where we can be grateful for COVID, because with COVID came Zoom meetings and I know people who go to meetings at night, and some of them love the fact that they can attend meetings all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they may be in Hawaii one night, in North Carolina the next,
Right.
and Turkey another.
Yeah.
Like for real, they love the fact that they can attend a meeting where they know no one,
Mm-hmm.
and or continue to find one that you really like and continue with that one, so that those people become your people, but they're not your neighbors. And that is what a lot of people find great comfort in that. And so I always feel like that's the one thing that came out of COVID, is that
Absolutely.
we have that here for us now, where
Yeah.
no matter what, there are still services. You can always, always, always find a meeting.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. COVID definitely expanded our way to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was a good thing.
Which, really also made it easier for people to continue on the self-worth. You can go to treatment court and still hold down a job, because you can literally tell your boss, this is what I need to do, but I don't need to leave work, try to find a way there, find a way back, take 3 or 4 hours out of your day. You can step out into your car, into a break room, into a private space, attend on your phone, and you can do the same thing with meetings and any sort of counseling appointments, doctor's appointments. It has, and for a lot of people, having a job and having, being able to be a part of society is a huge part of their recovery. And
Absolutely.
Because it goes into the self-worth and how you feel about yourself and what you want to do and keeping yourself busy.
Yeah.
And so it's super important that aspect has been made available.
Definitely. Being able to contribute to society, on the one hand, probably sounds like, big deal, but it really is a big deal to
It's
be
huge.
interactive with your community and be able to offer yourself, your services, whoever you are, or your resources is really good for your recovery, to just not, so recovery is kind of a selfish thing in the way that you have to focus on yourself. You have to learn how to live life sober, and that requires a certain amount of focus on self, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then after you kind of develop some skills, like being able to offer to someone else is like really meaningful, really part of the journey of recovery.
Yeah. And can even help you move forward in your own.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the dogs. Somebody took a breath upstairs. But yeah. So I don't even know who they're barking at. Who knows who's in the house? It may be JD. I don't know. But yes. Anyways, we're almost done, and I thank you greatly for coming in and
Absolutely. It's been a
sitting down
pleasure.
and keep meeting, and hopefully you guys will be up and running again soon.
Yeah,
And
hopefully.
in the meantime, let's say one more time where that meeting is now.
Okay, so our Open Hearts family group meeting is at Elevate Youth up near Granger, off of Granger Road, on Wednesdays from 11:30 to 12:30. I run a Reset group with ear acupuncture and a mindfulness group, and that's going to be Wednesdays from 10:30 to 11:30 at People's Health and Wellness. I have a nice space there. And then our All Recovery group is going to be at the Good Shepherd Church on Fridays at 4. And you can find that on our Facebook page too. And the other thing that I also want to say is that we are available to meet people with Narcan or fentanyl test strips if they want. So just because our center is closed, we can still distribute those. So if anybody needs those, they can just call the main number or email me or call me or whatever.
Yeah, and we'll get those links
Okay.
up, and people can,
Perfect.
I'll put all those links up. And
Yeah. Trying to get
contact
as
information. And
much Narcan out in the community as possible.
yes, they're putting up the boxes
Yes.
here and there.
Yep.
Eva and
Dr. Meshkuri?
no.
Oh.
Job.
Javid, yeah, that's Dr. Mashkari. Yeah.
So they're going to come. They're next
Awesome.
week. And the plan
good.
was they were going to bring a box to put in the studio, but we don't have a studio
Yeah.
now, so we'll be waiting for that. But
You can showcase it,
right?
though.
They can
What's
bring
to
it
come.
with us. That's right.
Yeah.
And they can bring it with them, and but they'll be here with me next week, and really looking forward to having them here as well.
Yeah,
and
good.
letting everybody know what it is that they do up at the emergency department and all over, and where they stand with the grant. I mean, when Eva first came, I think the grant was for 2 years and then it was done.
Which grant is this?
The one that started this whole program of the Vermont Prevention Coalition to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And when she first came, it was going to be a short and sweet, and they're still here. And so I love that fact. And
yeah, me too. It's been great to have our whole community together on a monthly basis to be part of the solution.
And it really is a community too. And they
is.
work with the fire departments and the police stations.
Yeah.
It literally is one community that all works together as a trying to figure out what resources need to be brought here and what else we can do. So super happy.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for coming, and we'll see you all next week. And JD and I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 on Shits and Giggles. Tomorrow, actually, no, it's not JD and I. It's just me with Tom Lozon tomorrow morning. We'll do a city council wrap up, talk a little bit more about flood recovery, and